Round of applause, round of applause, round of applause. Round of applause for the Kikuyu traditional dancers. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to help us with this event, we have our first MC. This is Charles Mwakio. Charles has over 10 years of experience as a marketer, corporate skills trainer, professional speaker, master of ceremonies, and entrepreneur. He's an alumnus of the Rotaract Club of Nairobi Central and holds a Bachelor of Science in International Business Administration with a concentration in marketing from the United States International University of Africa. Round of applause for our first MC, Charles. And the second, Victoria Rubadiri, our second MC today, is an award-winning Kenyan journalist known for her ability to connect with audiences and tell compelling stories. She has worked in radio and television for 14 years, both in Kenya and the United States. She was the winner of the 2020 BBC World News Komla Do More Award. Currently, Weekend News Bulletin. Victoria has appeared as a regular contributor on the BBC World Service Pennsylvania. She has become a much sought-after journalist and has also moderated high-level discussions around the world where topics have ranged from business to climate change and governance issues. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Victoria Rubadiri.
My goodness, what an intro. Good morning, everyone. Fantastic. As you know, I'm Victoria Rubadiri.
My name is Charles. I'd like to welcome you to Kenya. How many of you are new to Kenya? First time in Kenya? Raise your hand. Karibu Kenya, clap for you.
Wonderful. Also want to welcome our key speakers from the Anti-FGM Board joining us this morning. Thank you so much, UNFPA, as well as UN Women, and of course, Plan International. Now, we are here to discuss two very key issues. The first is, of course, child marriage, but also female genital mutilation. So from the plenary sessions to the parallel sessions to the skills building workshops, we want to tackle these issues, find solutions more importantly. And I want to leave a number with you. I find numbers give impact. 200 million. That's the number of women and girls who have already undergone FGM. And we know that by 2030, we want to bring that practice to an end. So between now and 2030, how many years is that? Not long at all. Exactly. So time is not on our side. We have about 7 years or less to ensure that the projected 68 million other women and girls who are at risk of undergoing FGM are not counted. Can we commit to that in this room? So we have the next couple of days to do that, put our minds together. I know we have some brilliant minds, not just from Kenya, but across Africa and the Middle East to make that happen. Charles.
All right, thank you very much, Victoria. We're glad to have you here. This is the UNFPA Harmful Practices Innovation Summit. 3 days, it's going to be beautiful, a period here, live speeches. We're going to have some demonstrations. We're going to have a gala dinner. So there's a lot packed up for you. And so to kickstart the program, we'd like to now have a security briefing. So from the United Nations Department for Safety and Security, we'll have a representative, Mr. Dixon Chemase. Please come on stage to give us the security briefing. A round of applause to Dixon.
Thank you so much. My name is Dixon Chemase, and I work for UN Department of Safety and Security. Mine is just to welcome all of you and just do the usual reminders, nothing new, but just to continue to remind everyone, all of us, of the usual security briefings, housekeepings. So I know for the UNFPA colleagues from other countries, you must have done the travel request information process, there is a lot which we have shared there. And you have our contacts for UNDSS Kenya. And in case of any security support, you will always use those emergency contact numbers to reach us, and you will be supported accordingly. First of all, before I proceed, in case of any emergency in this room, as we continue with the summit, we will all move to the nearest assembly point. The nearest assembly point, because there are several around the hotel, is behind this building. If you walk by this door on my right, you just walk behind the building and you will see the assembly point. It's well indicated, and that's a procedure. In case of an emergency, we will assemble there and we will be briefed what may have transpired. There is adequate security within the hotel. There is the in-house security providers. There is the host government security manning the premises, and therefore the security has been taken care of. In case of anything which needs support, you can always reach to one of them and will be directed accordingly. The threat environment is calm, meaning in brief that is safe. However, in one way or another, you may encounter challenges, which we call threats. Thank you for that. And the challenges which you may encounter, I would like just to categorize them into 4 categories. And this could be crime. I'll mention the types which you are likely to encounter. It could be the threat which is global, the terrorism. It could be the civil unrest or hazards. Those are the likely threats which we may encounter. Just to remind all of us, as all of us know, terrorism, you may have heard about it or witnessed it across the globe. It's not only in this country, and therefore it's a reason always for us to be alert. And in case of anything, we'll be guided by the security manning the facility. Crime could be in various forms, could be through theft, could be through fraud. We'll encourage everyone to watch over his or her valuables. And for those who are new, cybercrime is real. We have heard of delegates being defrauded through mobile phones, receiving anonymous call, somebody pretending wanting to help you and asking for your details. Please, we have had reports of many people losing their valuables through that way, whereby the assailants access your bank accounts and even steal money. So please be cautious. Do not share your personal information with people you do not know. While walking around the city, it's always good just to be alert. Maybe in some areas which you are not sure of your security, please, it's always good to secure your valuables. If you're driving around the city, maybe in a few areas where security is not okay, you may always remember to lock the vehicle doors so that you may not have opportunistic assailants opening the vehicle and snatching your valuables from the car trunk or such a thing, or when you're using the mobile phone, somebody snatching your phone and quickly disappear. So that one will also be useful. In case of any protests happening, maybe it could be from any group, it could be from the business community, it could be from students, it could be from members of a political party, any kind of demonstration, that is, the best mitigation measure is for you to avoid the protesters. Even peaceful protests at times may turn into violent. It's just general knowledge. The best mitigation measure is to avoid where there is a protest. Hazards is also another challenge. The most common one is road traffic accidents. While you are traveling around, it's good to observe the traffic rules. If you're driving, observe the speed limits. If you are crossing the roads, it will be useful to cross at the designated areas, maybe at the footbridges or at pedestrian crossing points. This is because it's a challenge, like in many countries in the region. The statistics show that every year about 3,000 people lose their lives through road traffic accidents, and therefore that's why we are bringing this. This also involves pedestrians, so it is are using the roads, be it as motorists or as pedestrians. I've mentioned about the assembly point. It's always good wherever you will be to take note of emergency exits. That is useful for any facility, not only within the hotel, but even outside. I know you may be visiting the shopping malls. It's always important to take note of the emergency exit points. Secure your valuables at all time. If possible, do not leave your belongings unattended. I don't want to take long. We'll just like to end there by finally reminding everyone to be prepared, because security incidents happen anytime, anywhere, without any warning. And most importantly, I will encourage everyone to follow security procedures. While coming into the hotel, you may be subjected to searches, or when you are visiting other facilities within the city, you may be requested for a search. Your vehicle may be searched by the security officers. We encourage all of you to comply, because it's meant to ensure that we all operate in a safe and secure environment. That marks the end of my security briefing. I don't know whether we have any questions. Any questions regarding what I've shared? Any questions, observations, or comments? All right. Thank you so much for listening.
All right, a round of applause to Dixon Chimase, who is the UNDC. So those of you who are new in Kenya, just repeat after me. Just say wewe. Just say wewe. Now wewe is basically means it's Swahili for you. So if anyone brings you any security problem, just tell them wewe, and they'll be able to tell you're a Kenyan. Just say wewe by putting the wewe. Say wewe. And that's your security to become a Kenyan. So that's your security. So guys, we're going to go to the next representative telling us more about the QR code. So from your side, we'll have Tracy Mwangi. Tracy, where are you? Karibu on stage to tell us how we're going to scan the program. It's an innovation summit. Everything is tech. And Tracy will tell us how we'll handle all this. Tracy, Karibu.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tracy. I'm here on behalf of YASAD, and I will be taking you through the QR code. I'm sure you've met some of you when you're checking in. So the first thing is, I hope all of you can see your badges. Your badges has a map of Africa, and there is a QR code. So you just scan it. I think I'll take you through as we test. So please scan your code with your phone. For those who have Android phones, you might have to download a QR scanner. Once you scan, so what we're having is a one-stop digital shop for all your event needs. So once you scan, so I'm also going through as you're going through so that I make sure everything is fine. You'll click on the link presented. It has 4 options as of today. It has a daily check-in and daily, so you'll check in today as you've done. Tomorrow you will not queue. Say amen. So you'll not queue as you have today. You'll just click on the daily check-in and to check you in. You have the event program, which you'll click on the view event program. It will show you the 3 days. So when you click on the event program, there might be delays with the internet. It will show you the 3 different days, today, tomorrow, and Friday. You click on the day that you want. You'll see the session name, the start to end time, and then the meeting room. So you can scroll through. For those who registered for different sessions, please use that to know where the session shall be. So there's meeting room, Mount Kenya room D, Mount Kenya room C, the Bougainville main auditorium, so it will show you where you're supposed to go. Then the third option is the event feedback. We shall be collecting your feedback on a daily basis. Please give us your key highlights, tell us how the event was, and your key takeaways. Then the last option is the view event pictures, which shall see the pictures from today and the different days. So you shall always download, if you want pictures for the event, they'll be uploading them in real time, so please go click the link and then download for yourself. Finally, tomorrow, there are 2 different things that will be added. One is a deal room registration. So please watch out for that. We shall be allowing 1 registration per break. So click on it and then register. It will block off once we have it full. Finally, we'll have the voting for the fire pitch, which shall be open tomorrow as well. There will be 10 innovators. We shall name them Innovator 1, Innovator 2, till 10, so you don't have to keep their names in your mind. So the first person who pitches will be Innovator 1, the last and the 10th person to pitch will be Innovator 10. When you click on the vote pitch, you can only vote for one innovator, so be careful who you click on. Once you click on 2, that's it. You click on 3, that's it. So because we have your email at the background, it's able to register whom you voted for. So we'll have that released for tomorrow during the fire pitch, and then on Friday, go back to the 5 different items, just opening for you the deal room registration. If in case you're unable to confirm your email, please, you'll find us at the registration area. We shall assist you in editing any detail that you have. So I hope you have all been taken you through properly. Hopefully we shall not see any of the registration area. Shall be able to run through the digital one-stop shop for this event. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Tracy. Okay, so scan the badge to get everything, that is the photos and access to a lot. So ladies and gentlemen, I'll now hand you to Victoria to take us through.
Thank you, Charles. So just a quick housekeeping item to announce. For those of you who require use of the interpretation devices, you found them on your seats. So the channels are as follows. English is channel 1. This is on the receivers. French is channel 5. And for Arabic, that is 10. If you're to use the microphones, English 1, once again, French is 2, and Arabic is channel 3. Once again, for the receivers, English is channel 1, French is channel 5, Arabic is channel 10. If you need any help, we have the team roving around, I believe. Great, he has his hand up, so look for him, and he'll help you use the receivers. Now, moving on to our first speaker for this morning, I'd like to invite Laureen Mwende from the AFRICOM Development CBO, and she'll be speaking on behalf of Plan International. Can we give her a hearty round of applause as she comes up?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. I'm Laureen Mwende, and yeah. So, you are either the solution or part of the problem. I am an African girl who loves our culture dearly, but I do not rejoice in some of our cultural practices, such as which you are going to speak about in this summit. So Ntaruguma is a girl from a certain village in Kenya who was cut at the age of 12. At the age of 12 and a half years, she was married off and got her first child at the age of 18. She was not given the opportunity to enjoy her childhood. She was not given the opportunity to pursue her career and build a life for herself. I am also a girl who got to enjoy her childhood and pursue the career of my choice that I love so much. I get to have a bright future, but what about my friend who was circumcised at the age of 12, married at the age of 12 and a half, got a first child at the age of 13. Many policies have been made, but they have not been implemented. What is the future of our girls? I thank God for organizations such as Plan International, who work with grassroots organizations such as mine, AFRICOM Development Center, to create innovative ideas to do away with these harmful practices. Some of the innovative ideas that Plan International has worked with us is investment, e.g. income generating activities. FGM is an income generating activity here in Tharaka Nithi. If you are the circumcised of the girl, you get, let's say, 10 goats per girl. That is capital for the lady. We have come with income generating activities such as weaving baskets, merry-go-rounds, famously known as chama in Kenya. We have partnered with the patriarchal society, they have a lot of say. If a man or a father stands and says that my girl will not be circumcised, if a man in this room or anywhere in Kenya stands and says, I will not marry a girl who is circumcised, trust you me, we will do away with these harmful cultural practices. We have also partnered with the opinion shapers in the community. In Meru, Tharaka-Nithi, we have the opinion shapers known as Njuruncheke. Recently, in the Girls International Day, they signed a declaration that they will not support these harmful cultural practices. And that is very nice. We congratulate them. Very nice. The victims of FGM, we have partnered with them. They tell their story, what could have been done differently, how they would not like to see other girls go through what they went through. Then we also partner with youths in the humanitarian space. Youth such as myself, we are given the opportunity to talk to our fellow girls, to talk to the elderly in the society, tell them about the dangers of FGM, getting married early, and the teenage pregnancies. Lastly, I am a girl pursuing software engineering. What if we use technology to do away with these cultural practices, such as an app where it can be used by anyone? You don't have to go to the police station to report such things. Many people in our society are afraid of, if I go to the police station and it is known that I am the one who went to report such a case, I will be stigmatized. They will not accept me in the society. If we have such an app where everyone can use it, I can key in the data. A girl has missed school for 2 weeks. The teacher keyed in the data. I know that FGM is being practiced somewhere. I key in the data. The police go stop such things. Wouldn't it be nice? I hope in the 5 or so years to come, we won't be talking about these cultural practices because someone in this room chose to take action. They sensitize the community about the dangers of these practices, and the perpetrators were reported and action was taken. And the victims were rescued, and girls will get to have a bright future. Thank you.
Can we give Laureen one more round of applause? Amazing. And she said, you know, hopefully in the next 5 years, we're not talking about this anymore. Laureen, I hope so too. But I think she also kicked us off on the whole innovation. She gave an idea of the app, right? So are there any software engineers in the room, developers? Wonderful. You two connect. Let's see that app going live very, very soon. Now, our next speaker is Dr. Chris Abiodun Oyeyepo. He's the Deputy Representative, UNFPA Kenya Country Office. Let's give him a round of applause.
The CEO Anti-FGM Board of Kenya, Madam Benedict, the UN Women representative, actually here in her capacity on behalf of the regional director, my colleague from Plan International, very importantly, our young, energetic, dynamic, and innovative young people from various parts of Africa. Can you give yourself a big round of applause, please? I'm really excited to see you all. But actually, greatly excited from the very first speech that we've just listened to from this young lady, which shows that we have great hope, great potential, and we will indeed achieve why we came here, and we'll bring FGM to zero. If you agree with me, a big round of applause, please. On behalf of the UNFPA representative, it is my immense pleasure to join you all at this crucial regional innovation summit on harmful practices, which is being hosted in Nairobi. On behalf of the UNFPA country office here, I wish to express our great delight for the opportunity to host this momentous event and sincerely thank the organizers for this privilege. As you are all aware, we are gathered here today for a 3-day harmful practice innovation summit that is centered on youth and women-led interventions and approaches addressing harmful practices with particular reference to FGM and child marriage. FGM is an act of gender-based violence that harms girls' bodies, it dims their futures, it endangers their lives, and it is rooted in gender inequality and power imbalances. In Kenya, it is estimated that about 4 million women and girls have undergone FGM. But not only this, FGM is actually a precursor to child marriage in certain communities where the practice is a rite of passage for childhood to adulthood. I wish to put on record the great commitment by the government of Kenya in ending FGM and the affirmation of His Excellency the President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, to end FGM in this country. I have to say that these commitments have leveraged and provided momentum on the elimination of the practice through the implementation of various existing policies and strategies, as well as community actions in collaboration with the United Nations, civil society, religious and traditional leaders. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, some progress has indeed been made. And we can see this as exemplified in the Kenya Demographic Health Survey of 2022, which reveals that the prevalence of FGM now stands at 15%, a significant reduction from 21% in 2014 and 38% in 1998. Additionally, only 9% of women aged 15 to 19 years have undergone FGM, as against 23% of women aged 45 to 49 years. These statistics shows that responsible decision-making is being made by mothers and fathers who are choosing to protect their young daughters from these harmful practices. But as you know, the target is 0. Is that also? So we are on 15%, and we are going to 0. I'm hoping that by the time we leave here in 3 days' time, we will have innovations that will actually assist us to get to 0 even before 2030. That should be our aim. As UNFPA, we are fully committed to working closely with duty bearers in the implementation of the 17 ICPD 25 commitments made in Nairobi here in 2019. As you are all aware, our focus centers on addressing sexual and reproductive health as well as GBV and harmful practices. in order to create a society that is free from these pervasive issues. Our collaboration with various ministries providing technical and financial support helps shape policies while directly impacting on our mission. I am pleased to note that alongside the State Department of Gender and Affirmative Action here in Kenya and the Anti-FGM Board with Madam Benedict just sitting next to me here, and other civil societies, we actively support strategic interventions aimed at eliminating FGM, child marriage, and teenage pregnancies. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as I move gradually to close this speech, I want to remind us that this summit presents a unique platform to showcase, to empower, and accelerate innovative solutions against FGM and harmful practices. By bringing diverse stakeholders and nurturing youth-led innovations, this event aims to contribute significantly to ending violence against women and girls, promote gender equality, and foster a future where harmful practices are a thing of the past. The UNFPA Global Strategy 2022 to 2025 recognizes innovation and digitalization as key accelerators in the achievement of the three transformative results and places great emphasis on enabling youth leadership and participation. That's why I'm quite excited about the presence of a large number of young people here today. This Innovation Summit, therefore, through its stated goals, is poised to enable the youth and women here present to indeed advance the fight against harmful practices. I therefore urge all participants to make excellent use of these 3 days to foster collaboration, amplify innovative approaches and interventions, and engage in networking and partnership opportunities that will accelerate the fight against FGM and harmful practices. Today serves as a powerful reminder of the urgency for even more targeted and concerted efforts to turn our shared goal of ending FGM and all harmful practices into a reality. Let us come together, men and boys, women and youth, everybody, to safeguard the lives of millions of our women and girls who are today still at risk. I thank you all once again and wish you all a successful summit.
Thank you so much. One more round of applause for Dr. Oyeyepo. And so clearly painting the picture for us. He said we're at 15% now. We want to get to 0 by 2030 or before, even better. Joining us virtually is our next speaker, Dr. Wissal Ahmed. He's a global coordinator for the Joint Programme on FGM. I'd like to welcome him to make the remarks.
Thank you. Welcome her. Thank you very much.
I beg your pardon. Yes, go ahead, Dr. Ahmed.
Thank you. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you. Habari ya subuhi. I extend my warm greetings to all of you present here today. It brings me great joy to be virtually part of the Regional Innovation Summit on harmful practices. I'm delighted to make this remark on behalf of the global team coordinating the UNFPA-UNICEF Joint Programme on the Elimination of Female Genital Mutilation. Excellencies, distinguished guests, female genital mutilation remains a deeply ingrained social and cultural norm affecting over 200 million women and girls today. And if this trend continues, the practice will affect another 68 million women and girls by 2030. The positive gains that we have in the reducing trends of FGM prevalence in different parts of the world are juxtaposed against growing polycrises that pull away resources and commitment to accelerate and galvanize our efforts to meet the global goal of ending FGM by 2030. This summit is timely and critical because it brings important players like you, women, men, and youth, to take a center stage in movement building and lead the efforts to accelerate FGM abandonment using innovative ways that are fit to purpose in our evolving and unpredictable world. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, challenges such as the current poly crisis create a space for creative thinking and to conduct business unusual, such as using digital technologies, as we've heard today, as part of the innovative solutions. The joint program, in collaboration with the UNFPA Eastern and South African Regional Office and the Spotlight Initiative, together launched the FGM Innovation Project, which aims to empower young people to generate groundbreaking solutions to combat FGM and other harmful practices across Africa. In 2021 alone, this initiative yielded over 100 innovative solutions, providing generous grants up to $70,000 and 6 months of business incubation support to 4 winning solutions. Through this endeavor, we have successfully reached over 1 million young individuals, equipping them with invaluable information about FGM innovation. Further, the 2022 edition of the FGM Hack Labs engaged community youth and women-led innovation accelerator hubs. We have collaborated with over 80 innovation hubs throughout Africa, mobilizing an impressive cohort of more than 300 passionate innovators dedicating to ideating bodily autonomy and FGM innovation solutions. In the spirit of progress, the We Scale Hack Lab aims to facilitate the scalability and investment readiness of UNFPA-supported social innovation solutions across Africa. Upholding the unwavering commitment displayed by the finalists from 2021 and 2022, this undertaking will engage at least 15 outstanding innovators who have shown exceptional dedication to growth and development of their innovative solutions. Today, we are privileged to have some of these remarkable innovators amongst us. I encourage you all to take this opportune moment to acquaint yourselves with their extraordinary solutions aimed at ending FGM. Over the next 3 days, I am confident that we will work together to chart innovative solutions and ideas to inform our program, policies, and advocacy work. I believe that the deliberations of this workshop will be a springboard to reassure our commitment and dedication to keep the global promise of ending FGM by 2030. I would like to end by extending my deepest gratitude and appreciation to the government of Kenya for hosting this event and for our UNFPA Eastern and South African Regional Office and Kenya Country Office colleagues' dedicated work in making all the necessary preparations leading up today. Once again, I welcome you and thank you for joining us. Asante sana.
All right, round of applause to Dr. Wisal Ahmed joining us virtually. All right, beautiful remarks from Dr. Wisal. We have over 15 innovators present with us here. We would definitely be enjoying interacting with you over the next 3 days. It's impressive that the collaboration has had over 80 innovation hubs in Africa, and that is quite impressive. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll now have our next speaker joining us virtually to tackle the topic on innovating for harmful practices. Allow me to introduce Madam Lydia Zigomo, who is the Regional Director for UNFPA East and Southern African Region, joining us for the call. Karibu sana, Lydia.
Asante. Your Excellencies, members of the Anti-FGM Board, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and young innovators, good morning. It is my pleasure to join you today, virtually, to deliver the opening remarks as we embark on this remarkable journey together. On behalf of UNFPA, the United Nations Sexual and Reproductive Health Agency, I would like to thank you all for joining us today as we gather for the Harmful Practices Innovation Summit in Nairobi and virtually. This event marks a crucial step in our ongoing efforts to tackle harmful practices, with a particular focus on ending female genital mutilation and child marriage in Africa. First and foremost, I would also like to express my sincere appreciation to the government of Kenya for graciously hosting this notable event. Your support and commitment to creating a safer and more equitable world are truly commendable. We all recognize the critical need to put an end to harmful practices that have plagued our communities for far too long. Child marriage and FGM are serious violations of girls' and women's rights. UNFPA has set its sights on achieving 3 ambitious goals that will change the world as we know it by 2030. With the clock ticking towards the deadline of the Sustainable Development Goals, UNFPA is focused on making the world a safer place for the 10-year-old girl to live a life free from violence and other harmful practices to enable her to achieve her full potential. It is alarming that an estimated 650 million child brides and nearly 200 million girls and women have undergone FGM globally. More than 40 million of those girls and women in Africa have experienced both of these harmful practices. Moreover, girls whose mothers have a primary education are 40% less likely to undergo FGM than those whose mothers have no education. Girls are today 1/3 less likely to be subjected to FGM compared to 3 decades ago, which is a great achievement. However, progress needs to be at least 10 times faster to meet the global target of eliminating FGM by 2030. The polycrisis of COVID-19, conflict, and climate change have wiped out most of the gains made. And in many cases, we have seen how communities that had abandoned FGM had returned to the practice. Out of 31 countries with nationally representative data on FGM, 24 countries are considered fragile contexts, 21 are considered least developed countries, and 12 countries are categorized as having an extremely high climate risk of drought and floods. To end FGM and child marriage, we require accelerated efforts and coordinated actions. It is imperative that we engage all key stakeholders, including young people. UNFPA has therefore embraced innovation as a catalyst to accelerate the elimination of these practices. UNFPA continues to push for innovation toward transformative change and achieving our mission to eliminate harmful practices. Throughout history, we have witnessed how groundbreaking ideas, coupled with technological advancements, have propelled societies to make progress. Innovation gives us unlimited opportunities and power to break away from tradition. Today, we stand at a critical juncture where innovation can play a pivotal role in reshaping the future for millions of girls and women affected by practices such as child marriage, FGM, and gender-based violence. Whether it's harnessing the power of technology to amplify our advocacy, using innovative data collection and analysis methods to better understand the root causes of these issues, or nurturing community-led initiatives, innovation is a beacon of hope. Innovative technology can be used to increase awareness, gather essential data, and drive significant changes in behavior. Through digital campaigns and innovative mobile applications, we have seen remarkable success in educating and engaging communities on the pressing issues surrounding harmful practices. These platforms allow us to transcend geographical boundaries, reach individuals and communities, even in the most remote areas. They facilitate the sharing of stories, experiences, and knowledge, breaking the silence that often shrouds these issues. Mobile apps, in particular, provide accessible and interactive tools for learning and advocacy, equipping individuals with information on service providers and reporting, and resources to protect their rights and challenge deeply rooted norms. The intersection of technology and our mission to end harmful practices not only brings these issues to the forefront of public consciousness, but also empowers people to actively make a difference in their own communities. It shows the remarkable potential of innovation in our efforts to create a safer world for girls and women. Our journey to combat harmful practices is greatly enhanced by embracing a youth-focused approach, harnessing the energy and creativity of our future leaders, especially girls. Emphasizing the unique role of young people as innovators, UNFPA empowers them to be driving force behind game-changing solutions to end practices like FGM and child marriage. Their fresh perspectives and innovative thinking have the power to reshape entire communities and cultures. Innovators in Africa still face teething challenges, including a lack of investment and requisite skills, limited entrepreneurship support, poor market access, and a relatively young innovation support system. This summit considers the challenges faced by young African innovators and identifies practical solutions to overcome the obstacles they encounter, whether it's accessing resources, navigating regulatory frameworks, or scaling their innovations. Let's build a strong ecosystem for young innovators, which will not only empower them to succeed, but also ensure that their innovative solutions have a lasting impact in our journey to end harmful practices and create a safer and more equitable world for all. The solutions displayed and shared by our young people from across Africa are not only about ending harmful practices, they also hold the potential to ignite economic growth. By supporting young innovators in developing and implementing their ideas, we create employment opportunities. This youth-centric approach, rooted in empowerment and innovation, paves the way for a brighter, more inclusive future where harmful practices are but a distant memory and where our youth lead the way toward lasting change. This summit demonstrates a declaration of intent. It's an opportunity for young African social innovators to share their ideas, strengthen their skills, and connect with key stakeholders, including funders and private sector partners. It's a chance to build a network that transcends borders and empowers innovators to drive change. I hope that this summit will yield clear, measurable, and impactful outcomes that lead to increased investment commitments, accelerated advocacy efforts, and the mainstreaming of innovation to end harmful practices. We will identify solutions to overcome the challenges faced by young African innovators and develop a roadmap for harmful practices innovation in Africa through shared donor and development partnerships. As we embark on this 3-day journey, let us remember the purpose that unites us all: the belief in the power of youth, innovation, and collaboration. Let us seize this opportunity to tap into the immense talent that lies within this room and create a blueprint for a prosperous and sustainable future. In closing, innovation is not just a means to an end. It is the very essence of progress. Together, we can reshape the future for women and girls in Africa and beyond. We can ensure that they live lives free from the shadow of FGM and child marriage, with the full opportunity to fulfill their potential. Let us embrace innovation as a driving force in our relentless pursuit of a more equitable and just world. Together, we can make FGM a thing of the past, not just in words, but in the lived experiences of the women and girls we serve. Asante sana.
All right, round of applause to Madam Lydia Zigomo, the Regional Director for UNFPA East and South African Region. Asante.
From the very moment we are born, our lives are constantly and unconsciously informed by implicit rules we learn from those around us, teaching us how to behave, how to fit in, and what is expected of us in every situation we encounter. As we grow older, we understand that we are social beings rooted in thick networks of relations, and that we mostly engage in collective behaviors. But there are many types of collective behaviors, and while some are beneficial, others can be harmful. Female genital mutilation, for example, is a collective behavior which causes harm and violates human rights. In order to eliminate harmful practices and to promote social change, it is crucial to recognize the different types of collective behaviors and to understand the reasons that drive them. What motivates? Some of our actions are motivated simply by our own needs. If it's hot, we look for shadows, and when it rains, we use umbrellas. They are independent behaviors because the motivation behind them is individual, independent from what other people do. However, most of our behaviors are not independent but interdependent, which means that they are strongly influenced by people around us. Social norms, for example, are interdependent behaviors because they are socially motivated. They are collective actions where what one does depends on what others do. But who are the people that influence our actions? Not everybody in the world, but our reference networks, which are people who matter to us, such as friends, teachers, colleagues, our religious community, and our own family. We see the way they behave, so we expect that we have to behave the same way because we are aware that non-conforming may result in negative sanctions, while if we conform, we get rewarded by welcome and respect. Social expectations of what others actually do and think we ought to do are sometimes accompanied by social sanctions. Sanctions are key to the enforcement of social norms. When they are used to disapprove a non-conforming behavior, they can be as severe as punishments, public shaming, and social isolation. So, what are social norms? Social norms are collective interdependent behaviors conditioned by social expectations within a reference network and often accompanied by the shame of being sanctioned. This is the case with many harmful social norms, like female genital mutilation. Even when a mother in her private thoughts rejects the idea of cutting her daughter, she sees most people in her community doing it and assumes that they all agree with it. She is afraid to communicate her thoughts because people may disapprove her ideas. And she is also afraid that if she does not cut her daughter, no one will marry her, so she'll be socially penalized. Therefore, despite disapproving female genital mutilation, she will still conform to it in order to avoid the social stigma. Social norms are maintained by the reciprocal expectations of the whole community and can be stiffly resistant to change. Therefore, when wanting to end a harmful social norm, the most important step is to understand the reasons why people take part in it and work together to reverse the norm and create positive alternatives. Understanding the dynamics of collective behaviors is crucial to promote shared processes of social change.
Incredible. Food for thought, certainly, moving from those social norms to seeing that change.
From the
Now, our keynote speaker this morning is an individual who has dedicated over 15 years of their lives to the empowerment of women and girls here in Kenya. She worked with World Vision Kenya for 10 years before she joined the government of Kenya as the CEO of the Anti-FGM board. But possibly most importantly, she is a survivor of FGM. Many of us who stood here have no idea the pain that is attached to such an act. She knows, she's lived it, and she's dedicated her life to speaking for those women and girls who have endured it. Can we give our next speaker, Bernadette Loloju, a hearty round of applause?
Good morning, everyone. Habari ya asubuhi. Jambo for those who have come to Kenya for the first time. Jambo. Karibuni Kenya. Welcome to Kenya. How is Kenya? Huh? We say in Kenya, mambo ni matatu. Yeah, so I've been introduced by my dear sister, and I'm very humbled to stand here. And this morning, I wear two hats, mine as the CEO Anti-FGM board, and at the same time, I'm representing the Ministry of Public Service, Culture, the Arts, Ministry of Public Service, Gender, it's long, Culture, the Arts, and Heritage. Greetings from my Cabinet Secretary, Hona Aisha Jumwa. Then I'm here representing my CPS, who had been asked by the CS to come here and do the opening remarks. She's also gotten tied up somewhere. So I will read the talking notes from my PS, Miss Anne Wangombe, PS State Department for Gender and Affirmative Action. My brother, Dr. Chris Oyeyipo from UNFPA, the Deputy Country Representative. My sister, Anna Mtavati, UN Women. The Country Director, Plan International, Jojo team. Anti-FGM champions here. Government officials. Young innovators. Good morning. It comes with immense pleasure, lots of appreciation, and great opportunity for all of us to be part and parcel of this important event, the Harmful Practices Innovation Summit, focusing on female genital mutilation and child marriage. Given the socio-economic impact of the two thematic areas, it is important, therefore, to qualify this summit as a unique and issue-based forum that must be approached from the perspective of responding to gender inequalities and violation of human rights. It is also important to note that the eradication of female genital mutilation and other harmful practices has persistently remained ingrained in our communities despite the presence of sufficient legal, policy, and institutional framework. A lot of work has already been undertaken by the state and non-state actors. Addressing harmful practices. Therefore, for us to be able to address harmful practices, we need innovative strategies and approaches. The perpetrators of FGM and other harmful practices have consistently devised new ways to sustain their trade. You can imagine for them, they're innovating every day. So what happens to us if we are not innovative? It is for this reason that emerging trends in the perpetuation of harmful practices need innovative approaches. Innovation will give us an edge over the perpetrators. It will also open doors for us to discover new opportunities, drive sustainability, and above all, will make our intervention stronger and more targeted. Innovation in addressing harmful practices will definitely accelerate the abandonment of harmful practices, provide room for measuring progress, and also a framework for knowledge transfer. We are looking at innovation as a tool to improve data collection, enhance our efficiency and effectiveness, improve on law implementation and enforcement of the laws and policies, reporting, sharing, information, and documentation. Innovation will change our attitude and provide a whole paradigm shift of doing things differently. Ladies and gentlemen, according to the Kenya Demographic and Health Survey, the prevalence of FGM reduced from 21% in 2014 to 15% in 2022. I therefore want to compliment all the stakeholders who are implementing anti-FGM interventions for the tremendous progress that the country has realized in ending FGM. However, the 15% prevalence is still unacceptable. The desire and commitment of the Kenya Kwanza government is to realize zero tolerance to FGM. It is on this basis that the Kenya Kwanza government has prioritized the elimination of FGM in Kenya in its plan under the Women Agenda Point 4 that reads, increase funding for the Anti-Female Genital Mutilation Board and fully implement the anti-FGM law. To reinforce point 4 under the Women Agenda, His Excellency the President, on 5th December 2022, during the launch of the State of the Judiciary report in Nairobi, said that FGM should not be a conversation we are having in Kenya in the 21st century. We must go out of our way, and I assure you of my administration's support in ensuring that we eliminate FGM in our country, because it's not only against the law, it is endangering the health of girls. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2023 theme for zero tolerance was partnering with men and boys to transform social and gender norms to end female genital mutilation. Therefore, cognizant of the position of men in the African setting, the voice of men and boys is paramount. They hold majority of decision-making positions and wield overwhelming power at household and community level. They are the gatekeepers of the community culture, and their involvement will definitely transform social and gender norms, thus ending FGM. We heard that this morning from a young lady from Tharaka, who said that if a man says no in his home, there'll be no FGM in that home, because they are the voices and they are the gatekeepers of culture. We need, therefore, to devise innovative strategies to bring men on board, to change men's domination into constructive power with other community members to improve the conditions of women and girls. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, I want to compliment the team that worked extremely hard to make this Innovation Summit a success. All our partners who have relentlessly contributed to the elimination of FGM, especially the UNFPA-UNICEF Joint Programme on elimination of FGM. I also want to acknowledge the young people who have spent sleepless nights innovating better strategies to eliminate FGM. This is a demonstration of your commitment to see a just society for all. You are the generation that will end FGM once and for all. Your names will be read in history books, as the people who pushed for total elimination of FGM. I appeal to all participants to approach this summit with the seriousness it deserves. Let the objectives and the outcomes of the summit be realized. Give it the best you can. I wish all the participants fruitful deliberations. And finally, I declare the summit officially opened. Thank you. And in Kenya, we say, Wakenya, pamoja tukomeshe. Pamoja. For those who don't know Kiswahili, that means together let us end. Together let us end. And we are just from Dar es Salaam. And when we were in Dar es Salaam, we said, together we can and be the change we want to see. Hiyo ndio tulitoka nayo Dar es Salaam. Be the change that you want, and together we can end. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Bernadette. I'd like to kindly ask that we now have the photo moment for the lounge. And for that, I'd like to invite on stage back again, Lorraine from Alia, Dr. Chris and Bernadette Tafadhali, come on stage so that we can have this officially launched, the summit, and we'll have so you can just come on stage through the staircase, and then we'll have a presentation and we can declare it, they can jointly declare the summit launched. All right, so, all right, we can remove the podium. So we'll have a photo moment. So let's just.
The champion, the lion is here. The emperor, the conqueror, the champion, the lion is here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, 3, 2, 1, and we can all cheer for the launch of the summit. All right, let's go. Okay. And so let's glue to this. Let's have our eyes on the screens. Thank you. Thank you, dignitaries. You may take your seats.
Wonderful. Now that the summit has been officially launched, we want to segue into a quick panel discussion where we'll be looking at the harmful practices, innovation in terms of limitations and great opportunities that exist. Allow me to quickly introduce my distinguished panel that will be joining me on stage. We have Bernadette Loloju from the Anti-FGM board joining us. Can we give her a round of applause? We also have Anna Mutavati, Deputy Regional Director for East and Southern Africa UN Women, kindly join me on stage. Let's give her a round of applause. Joining us virtually is Lydia Zigomo. We heard from her a bit earlier on, the Regional Director for UNFPA East and Southern Region. And last but not least, Glory Charles, an innovator who will be sharing their experience as well. Can we give them all a hearty round of applause and begin? So this session will shed light on both the current limitations and, of course, the future possibilities in the global effort to eliminate the practice of FGM. And, of course, we'll be speaking to all of our panelists about their respective experience when it comes to this. Bernadette, let me begin with you. Speaking from the government perspective and collaboration efforts and support that's been given to young people so far, what can you tell us has been done in that area?
Good morning again. I would want to say what the government has done and what we've been able to do in support of the innovation. And what I want to say also is that ending FGM is we have to come together. It's a collaborative effort, even within government. That means education, health, interior, and all that, because all that is what we look into. So the Constitution of Kenya, Article 55 in the Bill of Rights, obliges the state to make measures, including affirmative action programs, to ensure that the youth access relevant education and training, have opportunities to associate, are represented and participate in political, social, economic, and other spheres of life, access employment, are protected from harmful practices and exploitation. The Constitution of Kenya therefore provides an enabling environment to the young people to thrive and maximize on the existing opportunities without being disadvantaged by harmful cultural practices such as FGM. So the government through the board, the anti-FGM board, which specifically only deals with FGM and fully supported by the government of Kenya, has continued supporting youth-led organizations and associations in an effort to promote their innovative ways of campaigning against FGM, such as through sports. We've had End FGM football matches at community level, creative arts. We have songs that are specifically focusing on FGM. We have poems by children from schools that are very innovative, skits, road shows, social media interactions, talent shows, and intergenerational dialogues. Further, the board has on yearly basis supported the Kenya music and drama festivals so that we give to the best innovation from grassroots level that have come up with an innovative drama or music at the school level so that there's awareness creation, and at the same time, we are giving the best innovators. The government has involved the young people by creating movement building platforms for them to be able to actively and fully support the End FGM campaign. We have launched the National Youth Anti-FGM Network, and we have the networks up to the county level. Most of the counties have the Youth Anti-FGM Network. And these networks and the members of the networks also sit on the county anti-FGM steering committees. So we have given them a platform to be able to give their innovation. The board has also engaged youth in various universities and colleges to create a critical mass of young people to derive innovative strategies in higher institutions of learning to lead the campaign. We saw that the young people, especially the university students, whether they come from these communities or not, because when you grow up and you go to the university, the first thing that happened to us as survivors is that when we were out there and we were trying to date, we didn't know, we had to, like for me, I only dated Maasais and Samburus because I felt I don't want to expose myself. And you know, that one put me in a cocoon. So what happens to a girl who is a survivor? So we saw that there is need to bring the university students into the conversation and the college students, so that when we have other girls from the communities that can't go to use these universities, the young men from the other communities understand what it means to go through FGM, and it was not your choice. The other day I had someone in my office and they asked me, why did you accept to be cut? And I was like, I'm sorry, I was barely 13 years. How was I able? And we saw the social norms thing. My parents obviously were within the community and they had to go through to make sure that I go through for them to be able to be accepted in the community. And then again, this morning we were told about apps. In partnership with UNICEF, the board engaged young people to develop the Pasha app. We have what we call the Pasha app. For those who don't understand Kiswahili, Pasha means inform. So we worked with UNICEF, came up with a Pasha app that would help girls to report real time when they're in their villages. We are still working on the app to make it more like across the country and for it to work, but it was developed by young people, and the young people have been the ones who have been training the communities on how to use the app. We have also had very major gaps in terms of issues of innovation. We feel that with inadequate data, we are not able really to innovate as well as we would want to. Like I can give an example of us as Kenya, our 2014 data, we had to wait until 2022 to get the next set of data. So we feel that it's important for young people to think around how do we get real-time data at community level. I know we have talked about the Pasha app, but I know there's an innovation that was done last year when we had the UNFPA Innovation Summit, where a young person came with an app that would show a girl when they have missed school for 1 or 2 weeks. And that was a very good app. We hope they'll be sharing during the summit how the app has worked. So we need to see more innovation on areas of how do we get data using innovation. Then I've talked about the Pasha app. We are really getting a lot of challenges in reporting. Our sister from Daraka this morning talked about girls reporting, and then your mother knows you are the one who reported, or your aunties know you are the one who reported them, and then you will be in danger. The community will not accept you. I can assure you that in Kenya now we have 1195, we have 116, we have the Pasha app, and that one is really helping us to get real-time reporting. I remember there's a time a girl who was at risk of FGM called at 11 p.m. at night. to say that they are planning to cut her the next morning. And it was through a police line in Kenya. And they got through to us and we were able to immediately organize for a team to go to their home because she gave even where her home is. But the best thing about Pasha app is that immediately the girl calls, it even shows where they are in terms of the home where they are. So the apps and also the gaps that I feel we have, we also need to get hold of the healthcare workers who are doing FGM. We know Kenya, there's medicalization. Now everything is being done in homes by medical practitioners. Personally, and my cousin and my sister, it was an old nurse who came home. So nobody would know that this nurse was in our home at what time. So if we could also have our young people come up with an innovation on how can we get hold of those medical practitioners who are practicing FGM, because we have to produce evidence in court. How do I take you to court if I don't have evidence?
Bernadette, I want to hold you there because we'll continue on with the other gaps. I need to bring Anna in just in terms of the innovative approaches. So we heard Bernadette speak to some of them that the government is involved in, but from where you sit at UN Women, what other innovations can be used to engage practicing communities?
Thank you very much, Vicky. And good morning. Welcome to Kenya. I hope you're enjoying your stay in Kenya. Let me start off. Let me just start off by giving this a bit of a context that the UN Women Gender Snapshot report that they released this year showed that the world over, we are so far away from achieving gender equality and meeting the 2030 targets on gender equality. In fact, one report actually says that at the pace that we are going and moving, slow pace, we are going to need between 100 and 200 years to achieve gender equality. And I think we are all agreed that we don't have all that time to wait for, right? So with that context, the same report also said, Vicky, that our region, Sub-Saharan Africa, we have done quite well in terms of reducing female genital mutilation, but we are not doing so well in terms of child marriage and other harmful traditional practices. So that means then that we need to have all hands on deck. We cannot continue to work the same way that we've been working. We need new innovations, and I think this is where we are. That's what brings us today here, because I believe your presence here is also saying that we don't have 200 years to wait for FGM to end. We don't have 150 years to wait for gender equality to be achieved. So with that context then, from UN Women, what we have seen around innovation is that we need to anchor it in the discussion that we had on social norms. We tend, I think, in terms of innovation, we have tended to just focus on the act of FGM, the cutting itself, and how wrong it is and how much it is of a violation of human rights. But at UN Women, we've taken a few steps back and said, how have we anchored the understanding of these practices within a power structure where it is all about power? It is all about unequal power relations, right? Between men and women. It is all about a power structure that's so protective of itself, right? That it preserves itself around all of these practices that we are now addressing on the surface, right? It's all about understanding the social norms and the power that informs those social norms. It's all about understanding also how to start dismantling those negative social norms and then start building new norms around gender equality, around kicking out FGM and other harmful traditional practices. So I think it's just a step that I wanted to take, that for all of you innovators, it's great that you come up with all of these ideas, apps, and so on, but without understanding that the chief cause, the root cause of this practice is all the way down there. And you help us to innovate around how we can start dismantling those root causes, those underlying causes, and the power structures and the power imbalance and abuse of power that then give rise to FGM and harmful traditional practices, I think we'll continue to innovate and innovate and innovate and innovate without coming to a solution. So my challenge, Vicky, is just, can our innovators understand and engage and take time to really go to the root causes of this, understand that, and then innovate bottom up, as we say here in Kenya. Allow me very quickly to also say that I think the idea of innovation is perfect, is good, and we are all for new and innovative solutions because this problem has stayed on for too long. From our analysis, we've also seen that we cannot always find innovative solutions at individual levels. So the power of collective innovation as well. So brilliant individual ideas are good and well, but then they need to be connected, right? Because the problem that we are dealing with also has multiple faces and forces that keep it going. So as part of innovation, the encouragement is that, can we collect our ideas together and then come up with powerful solutions, because the enemy that we are working with is not a single-faced enemy, and it's not standing on one leg. It is multiple legs, multiple faces, multiple. So it also needs for us to collectively come together to address it. And lastly is the issue of data that Bernadette raised. I think as we innovate, let us also understand what the data is saying, right? Your solution, can it be informed by data? And so we've just said and celebrated here how as Kenya we moved from 38% in 1998 down to 21% in 2014, down to 15% in 2022. Brilliant. But then the data is also saying that even though we are saying 15%, that's the national prevalence, right? But when you unpack that 15%, you have communities that are actually practicing 100% of female genital mutilation. So is that known to you? I mean, like, are you aware of the data? And therefore, your innovations, how can they also go down there to unpacking the data and helping us communicate so that everyone becomes aware that as we are celebrating 15%, there are communities that are still doing this 100%. And then also, of course, how do we then engage around solutions in those particular communities by understanding better what is driving 100% prevalence, and therefore what we need to do around that. So those are the three challenges I would like to pose to our innovators today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. Fantastic points you've raised there. And I'd like to bring Lydia in on that note. You know, you've heard Anna talk about anchoring anti-FGM efforts in social norms, you know, using data really to address the issue of FGM. But how do we make these solutions and innovations sustainable, right? So they're fantastic ideas in terms of addressing maybe a short-term problem, but sustainability is something that will continue it on from generations. So from your perspective, Lydia, what would you say would help with that?
Thanks very much. It's a pleasure to be on the panel, even though remotely, and good to see colleagues that I know very well on the panel. In terms of your question, I would say that there are a number of things we need to look at for sustainability. So I'm going to try and just break them down a little bit. I think one is there has to be a commitment from those of us who are supporting young innovators to create the enabling environment for innovation to thrive and actually be able to get to scale. So I think in terms of UNFPA, we did a number of things that we felt as an organization, and maybe they're a demonstration for others who are wondering how to support innovation at scale and for sustainability might also look at. So one is around the approaches we decided to take. So we took a strategic approach to actually look at innovation and also digital transformation as accelerators to achieving our own goals and the goals that we had said we would support in contribution of the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. So I do think there has to be an actual commitment, either at an organizational level or institutional level, or government level, whichever place you're talking about, or even within the donors, to actually say this is a strategy we are adopting. And therefore, we're going to not only support these innovations as ideas and at concept level, but all the way through to actual application and application at scale. And that means the point that was made earlier by one of the other speakers around the multi-stakeholder partnerships you need to have around the table. What we have done is we've particularly tried to look at how we take innovations to scale and for sustainability through two approaches. So one was the Hack Lab we were part of supporting with the Joint Programme on FGM in 2021. And it was building also on looking at what was happening during COVID times. If you notice during COVID times, young people themselves responded to the issues that were arising around gender-based violence, FGM, and other issues in their own communities, and even just around the lack of sexual reproductive health information and services at that time and products. So they worked around setting up platforms where they were linking young people with the right information from service providers. They looked at linking young people who were victims of, for instance, violence with services and the justice system. So we also need to build on the movement that's already happening amongst young people and young innovators themselves and come alongside to support that. So the Hack Lab, for instance, in 2021, we really looked at the issue of bodily autonomy, building on what was happening during COVID. And it identified 109 innovative solutions from 18 different countries. And it went through processes of people defending their ideas and solutions to various panels and being evaluated. And actually then the 9 finalists were selected to present their innovative solutions at a final piloting event at the International Conference on AIDS and Sexually Transmitted Infections in Africa, ICASA, in Durban, in South Africa. And following that final pitching event, 4 winning solutions were chosen. 3 of them are women-led. And then this again brings that issue of multi-stakeholder partners. We had partnered at a regional level with an innovation incubation partner called AfriLabs. So they then worked with these 4 winning innovations and solutions through a process with seed funding of about $70,000 in both capital and business support services to really take their ideas to scale, to really look at how they would make them scalable innovations. And I think that is an approach. It's continued into this year, and these ideas should now be able to hopefully go to scale. In 2022, through the Stretch Hubs Hack Lab, a similar innovative approach was taken with UNICEF and again with UNFPA around the Joint Programme on the Elimination of FGM in Africa. And that one is looking particularly at innovation, incubation, and accelerator hubs. And it went through 2 approaches. One was asking lots of young innovators to send in their applications. They did over 100, but through an online platform, over 300 innovators were also engaged. And out of that process, a rigorous process of selection of the submissions that were made, 31 went through. Then they were further evaluated by a whole team of different stakeholders from the UN and from the Joint Programme and the African Union in this case, because they're solutions for Africa. And 6 innovators were chosen to join the technical FGM program workshop and do their final pitch. And that final pitch was in Nairobi, actually, in Kenya. And AfriLabs, again, the regional incubation partner, is supporting those innovators through a 3-month period of incubation to look at how they really can deliver at scale and present winning solutions at scale. Again, with funding also included in that process. So 2 solutions have received $60,000 each to scale up their solutions. So these are just examples of some of the things we need to think about putting in place if we're really supporting innovation at scale. But I also wanted to end with the fact that, these, there are also, as I said, young people were innovating during COVID, and how we link up with what is already happening in terms of the movements that are happening within communities. So one of the areas that we've seen the potential for scalable, sustainable solutions is around self-care. We've been working around self-care because a lot of the ways in which sexual reproductive health and rights conditions could be managed that young people have or anyone has through self-care. And with digital innovations, self-care becomes actually a reality for many people in their homes. So in partnership with the Swiss Tropical and Public Health Institute, we've been looking at undertaking a structured review of more than 60 innovative sexual reproductive health self-care interventions to identify the criteria for how you could actually implement self-care at scale. And it's been fascinating looking at aspects of that as well in terms of what can be done. So I think there are some examples of how we can achieve sustainability. It's through multi-stakeholder partnerships, creating the enabling regulatory and financial environment for innovations to succeed, supporting these young innovators all the way through the whole cycle to get their ideas to scale, and also ensuring that within that group of innovators, people themselves who are affected by the problems they're trying to resolve, so women and girls, are part of the solutions, part of the innovators, part of giving ideas around what works for them and what will not work for them. And then looking at also how we can piggyback on other areas, like, as I said, what's happening under self-care, linking it with digital transformation to then again look at ways of having solutions that work at scale. So I would say those are some of the further contributions I'd make, not underestimating the point that Anna made from UN Women around the importance of understanding the power dynamics that I play within this area of FGM and child marriage, but also the point that was made from the government perspective about continuing to focus also on those who do the cutting and ensuring we work with them and provide also options and pathways out for them.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lydia. Some great insights in terms of scaling those innovations and also tapping into the existing innovation labs and incubation labs. You know, Glory, and we heard Lydia talk about young people have been innovating. They never stopped. And we saw that especially during COVID. You are the one panelist in this room that everyone will be looking to be the solutions finder as an innovator. I mean, you've heard about the challenges, the gaps from Bernadette, from Anna, from Lydia. For you, where you sit, what sticks out? What are some opportunities that young innovators can tap into?
Thank you. For me, as a representative of majority of innovators that are in this room today, I can say that the opportunities that we see currently that are giving us the necessary force and push to go forward is first the inclusion of youth-focused initiatives in majority of the programs. We have seen the Plan International involving involving youth. We have seen the joint program of UNFPA and UNICEF being centered around youth, and many other of the youth-focused initiatives that are really pushing us to show up and show out on what we can do to make sure that we become part and parcel of ending these harmful practices that are becoming more than pandemics. And with the rise of technology and the growth of the digital space, we have seen the starting and the rise of innovation hubs and incubators, as well as accelerators that have capacitated us with necessary knowledge on how can we innovate better for our communities. As Madam from UN Women said, is that we have to understand better who we are innovating for, and not just because we have brilliant ideas and then we're just innovating, thinking that this will solve the problems in our community. So these innovation hubs and accelerators help us to understand how to navigate these innovation waters. At times, from a personal experience, we had a brilliant idea, but we were just focused on how can we implement our idea. So all we did is just thinking and rethinking on how to get our products to the community. But we forget one crucial area, and that is sustainability. We did not look at that at all. So we started this journey around 2018, and It took us almost 3 years to 2021 to now come and realize that we have to think of how we are going to sustain ourselves, even in absence of these grants, in absence of this funding. How can we generate money for ourselves to keep pushing for our innovations? So the presence of these innovation hubs and accelerator have been a very great help for us as we have been able now to navigate through regulatory laws, business laws, and the like. Personally, I come from medical background as a medical doctor. So telling me how to comply to, for example, from Tanzania, we call it TRA, the Tanzania Regulatory Authority. I did not know at all how to file my tax returns. And I was doing business, but through growth inside the accelerator hubs, I now come to understand that this is what I have to do. And this is what I have to learn to keep my innovation going for the better of my community. So that was a great opportunity for us. But also the presence of grant and these competitions that does not only provide us with the capital fund, but also provides us with the network. And this network is not just in form of network of investors, but also network of the like minds that I can come from Tanzania having an innovative idea and meet another innovator from Kenya, meet another one from Nigeria, and we can sit together and exchange ideas that I think this is what works for me. You may try it and it may work for you. So that has also been a great opportunity for us as youth. But last and not least is availability of necessary tools. We are young. We haven't seen the evolution of these practices from the start to the end. Mama Bernadette can tell how she has witnessed the different forms of FGM from 1990s to 2000s to now 2022, but I was only here late. So in order for me to do better, I have to learn from what has been done so that I can understand where was the weakness and where was the strength and how can I chip in, because we do not come just to replace all the ways that have been done, but to just augment forces into ending these harmful practices. So availability of tools, for example, the UNFPA innovating toolkit around female genital mutilation is of great help. Now I can sit down and innovate better because I have a toolkit that tells me that this was what was done 10 years ago and it brought the prevalence back by 2%. But if you do this and we augmented forces this way, we can go down for further 10%. So all these opportunities that I've mentioned is what we have gained by being part of the ecosystem. And we are really grateful that it was about time that the youth are now brought into conversation, and we are now having the intergenerational conversation that I can sit with Mama Bernadette and we can conversate around how now we can say enough is enough, and we don't really want to keep on hearing that 68 million girls are going to also be cut, and we have been hearing these songs for over 30 years. So much as these perpetuators are also innovating, we should also come together, scavenge for these opportunities to make sure that we go at a faster rate and a faster pace than them, because if we do not do that, 2030 will come and they will still beat us in the game. So if we really want to put end into this, and this goes to every young mind and young person in here, we have to scavenge for this opportunity, collaborate, partner, and do better for the better of our community.
Oh, fantastic. It definitely deserves a round of applause. I really like how she casually dropped that she's a medical doctor. I should be calling you Dr. Glory. You know, as we wrap up, we'll do a round of questions, but you know, Bernadette, let me come back to you because you were talking about some of the existing gaps. Of course, some of the gaps with the Pasha app and other innovations or solutions that the government has come up with. But I really want to zero in on the issue of culture, because we know that's the biggest. I've covered several events. You know, you can go to a place like Kajiado, for instance, and the local politician will pick up the mic and speak against FGM, but we know his daughters are being cut, right? So how do we deal with, literally infiltrate culture to address it from that level?
When we look at culture, it's a way of life and people believe they are the right people. It's good because Dr. Gloria, you allow us to call you that. has talked about us who have seen it all, like we've been there. We've seen it all, like we are going into our, our age. When you age, you also have wisdom and you have seen more, even though our young people are the ones who also help us now to think better. We might have used some strategies that have not worked or have given us 2% or 10% a drop, but we need more strategies that can accelerate. So when it comes to culture, like today, you as Victoria goes to the community, the way you are dressed with your specs and with your high heels, and the girls out there in the village will just be looking at you. They'll be looking at you and they believe you've also been cut. And if you tell them you're not cut, the first thing they'll do is get shocked, even the women. Like, do people exist who are not cut? Yeah, so culture is so ingrained. And when it comes to culture, how do we infiltrate, as you have said? How do we make sure that there's attitude change? I was asking a researcher yesterday who is trying to sub-analyze the KDHS data for us to be able to see exactly what are we looking at. As my sister Anna has said, some communities are still at 100%, some communities are at 95%, even though we are talking of a drop, but there are communities that are still very high. So I was asking the researcher, according to the KDHS 2022, it shows that the awareness among our communities on the fact that FGM is against the law and that FGM has effects for our girls and women is more than 90%. Then why are we not having the same, 90% awareness? Why are we not having, again, more than 90% attitude change? And why is someone deciding to cut their daughter at night because they fear the law? Yeah, so at the end of the day, the attitude, how do we deal with that? I know you have asked me that question, but mine has been, who can protect their child more than their mother? Who else can protect a child more than their mother? As a mother, you always, your mind is always 100% on how is your child, is he getting hurt or something? But can you imagine on FGM, it's your mother and your grandmother and your aunties who are women who push for you to get cut, and they're there to make sure you get cut. And they tell you it's something good that is going to happen to you. Then you realize later that it was nothing good. So how do we bring the conversation of the survivors? How do we bring the survivors into the conversation? Because it's only a woman who is cut who cuts her daughter. Yes, it's only a woman who is cut who cuts her daughter. A woman who has not gone through FGM would never think about that. Yeah, they would never think about it because it's not in their culture. It's not in their way of life. But the only women who cut their own daughters, who pass the culture to their own children, are the mothers who have been cut. So how do we innovate for the mothers who have been cut themselves to show that the trauma you're going through should not be passed on to your daughter? Even if your own mother or your grandmother was cut, then you do not have to pass that to your own children. Then again, the men, what men tell us is that my mother was cut, my grandmother was cut, and I saw nothing wrong with that. So where was the man? Was the man putting on the grandmother's shoes or the mother's shoes? Does the man realize what the mother went through? Do you think my son today knows what I have gone through even while giving birth to him? Because when I was giving birth to my son at 19, I went through a traumatic experience in the labor room where the nurse asked me, who did this to you? When the baby was coming out, stop pushing because you will get tears. How am I going to push and the baby is here? You are supposed to do an episiotomy. It's an emergency. The baby is coming. Can you ask the questions after you have received the baby? But she did not ask those questions. She did not take charge immediately. The question she was asking, who did this to you? How do you ask me in the labor room when the baby is coming, who did this to you? Is that a question to ask me? The same question has happened not only to me, but to other women who, even some of them, died at the labor because someone did not even understand what FGM is all about. I don't blame them. I don't blame that girl who did that to me when I was 19. Maybe she was ignorant. Now that I'm here, maybe she didn't understand. Maybe that's not the way she was trained to handle a mother who has gone through FGM. So there is a lot also that we can do with the survivors, the mothers who have been cut themselves, because they're the ones who know. But one thing about the mothers who have been cut, they will always argue with you that it has no effect on them. Yeah, I did my research in Tanzania among the Arusha. And every time I did my focus group discussion with the Ngaribas, I know they know Ngariba. Ngariba is the mother who helps and when you're giving birth, and the same Ngaribas are the ones who cut. So the Ngaribas would tell me, I don't know what you're telling us. We've given birth to 10, 12 children. We have not had any problem. We have not died. We are here telling you the story. So, you know, they will always come back to you with the same. So how do we innovate around? How do we deal with mothers who have already gone through FGM and should not pass the same to their own daughters? Because if every mother who has been cut does not cut their own daughter and protects their own daughter from female genital mutilation, I can assure you this will be history as soon as yesterday. As soon as yesterday, if every mother in these communities is made to understand that you're making harm to your daughter, and this is how your body looks like. I'm sorry, maybe I'm not going so much into innovation, but telling how it is, but women themselves don't understand how their bodies look like down there. So by the time you grow, you don't even know you are cut. Maybe the men know how they look, because men, when they are in the village, when you're in the stream down there, you know. And when they get circumcised, for them, it is a community conversation. But as a woman, you are made to not even discuss anything to do with you. So you never know how you look. And so even as you grow up, you never understand, why was this done to me? Because even me, when I was done FGM, when I was healing during the healing period, I asked myself, why did they do it to me? Does it mean I have something else I need to do that is beyond what they've already done to me? So how do we bring the mothers? I want to challenge the innovators. How do we bring the mothers fully into this conversation? Because women are the lead perpetrators. Men are never there when the women are getting cut. Every time we show men what it means to cut a woman, men get completely shocked. And they say, we don't want this to happen to our own daughters. So how do we bring the women into the conversation? They are the holders of the culture. They are the men are the gatekeepers, but the women are at the middle of the culture.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bernadette, for opening our eyes on that issue. And certainly it needs to be tackled. Anna, let me come to you. In terms of other existing innovations that have been used to address other forms of GBV, how can those be, in a sense, translated now to respond to FGM?
Thank you very much, Vicky. If you allow me maybe 1 minute of my time to just also pick on the response from Bernadette to your question. So I would like to also suggest that Dr. Gloria mentioned this, that as innovators, we're not just starting from now and here going forward, right? We also take time to learn what has worked before, how did it work, what did they do, and then we build onto that. So I think there's a whole learning that can come from the whole issue of HIV and AIDS. Yeah, I think there was a lot of innovation around there, targeting behavior change, targeting even social norms and cultural norms. Some people who thought that they could not manage with one partner, but they had to change, right? So perhaps also learning from not just in the space of FGM, but what we are calling also the triple threat here in Kenya, where we are looking at HIV, where we are looking at teenage pregnancy, and where we're looking at sexual and gender-based violence, including FGM. So it was just something to add to that. But to your question, in terms of lessons that can be applied here, I have 3. I'll go quickly through them. One is Lydia spoke on the issue of sustainability, which you also brought. And what we have learned from UN Women is the need to establish dynamic partnerships with private sector, because private sector can be the cradle for most of the ideas that you have, and for advancing them, and for using their platforms also to reach a wider base, and also for developing some of your ideas even further. So I know Lydia mentioned some of the partnerships with private sector. From UN Women, this is something we have learned. And we have also had an innovation or two with private sector. One is one that I would like to share is what we call the Unstereotype Alliance. So here we are working with private sector to say you are driving a lot of commerce using advertising. But that advertising, have you taken time to see how it perpetuates negative gender norms and practices? Some of your adverts advertisements, right? Ads, as we call them, that are all over social media, on TV and radio and everywhere, newspapers. They are actually perpetuating stereotypes against women, right? Harmful stereotypes, harmful norms. And so when we took some of them, I think you can also think of one or two adverts that you're saying, but that one is not consistent, right, with what we are trying to promote here. Because the idea is that FGM doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It is informed by a whole lot of a system of beliefs, a system of stereotypes, practices and norms, right? And then it emerges as FGM, right? So it's important, therefore, in what we've learned with private sector to engage so that we look at the whole ecosystem that gives birth to practices such as FGM. Underneath that is gender equality, unequal power relations, abuse of that power, and so on. So that's one lesson we've learned by partnering with private sector, using their platforms, but also helping open their eyes because they have a huge following, right? We are all consumers of what they produce. So if we leverage their spaces, we also tend to reach much higher numbers of people, but also ensuring that we are changing them in the process, not just to use their platforms, but that they become true partners that we can partner with in this journey. The second lesson we've learned is on, I think, something that Dr. Gloria mentioned and my sister here, Bernadette, also mentioned, and Lydia. It is about involving or working with the people that are affected by the problem themselves, right, in this innovation. So we can't try always to do it for them. We have to innovate with them. And where we can, even give them the spaces to lead in some of these spaces, right? Because who knows when to take off the shoe, but that person who is feeling the pinch from the shoe, right? So I believe there's lots of information, tons of information that we can get. And then that point I made earlier about this strategic partnership. So it's not just my idea, my innovation only, but how can I make it stronger by partnering with fellow innovators, but also where are the people that are informed and involved and affected by this, and how can they innovate? I mean, how can they innovate together with me? So at UN Women, we have done this, or we are doing this through our innovation called African Girls Can Code initiative, and it's in partnership with the AU. And we are working with girls from very, very underprivileged communities, and they are coming to learn about coding. And when we explore what areas, for example, they would like to pursue, some of the issues are also coming up. So I think it's also about cross-fertilizing those ideas, your ideas, brilliant ideas, with their lived experiences as well. Last but not least is the issue, that the lesson that we've learned, partnership with government, and where government takes ownership and leads on some of these innovations for sustainability, as Lydia also mentioned. And we have an example that we have supported the Office of the Chief Justice in Kenya to develop this database, right, which will enter all the names of convicted sexual offenders, right? So an active database. So if I'm sitting in Kajiado, I'm sitting in Migori as a magistrate, I'm sitting in wherever, Turukana as a magistrate or as a judge, and somebody has just been convicted, I run through that database to see if they are a repeat offender, and then their penalty gets, tougher because they are not learning anything. But also, if this database, and this is where we want to go to next, if this database can also be made public, right? So that even employers get to know, you want to hire so-and-so as your system software administrator or engineer, they are on this list of sexual offenders, so keep away from them. That can also help in terms of deterrence, right? Because if it's hitting where your livelihood is, you are bound to make certain changes to yourself, and it is also a key message, a strong message to other offenders that are planning to do the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna, and great to hear some of the solutions that UN Women is already involved in. Lydia, briefly, I'd like to hear from your end, the UNFPA side, in terms of existing initiatives that are already leveraging on innovation. We heard from Anna about the database and girls who can code, but what is UNFPA doing from your side?
So as you know, we work particularly on issues of population and demography, and also on sexual and reproductive health and rights. And we work on both of these areas. So the way in which innovations are being leveraged in this space, I think I mentioned one already, which is now linking with other areas of sexual reproductive health and rights, because as Anna rightly said, we've got to look at the ecosystem within which some of these harmful practices are taking place. And as we look at that ecosystem, one of the things I think that I've been struck by, and I think it also links to the point that Bernadette was making around, and I think I mentioned it actually in the opening, was around the correlation between issues of education, women's education, and the practice of FGM, for instance, and other harmful practices. So if we start to also understand what's actually happening within the dynamics of how people are living within their communities and what they have access to and don't have access to, it begins to make the linkages with why certain traditions continue and persist in certain communities and why not in others. So this issue of women's education, I just wanted to point it out because that struck me as a statistic that the more you have women who are educated, even just up to primary level, the less you see the prevalence of FGM within their families. So I would also say that one of the things we need to leverage on is the initiatives around just increasing women's literacy and education. In that regard, when I was in Mozambique a few weeks ago, one of the things that women in internally displaced camps said to me was one of the things they most appreciated around what we're doing around their sexual reproductive health and rights, access to maternal health care for the pregnant women and also those who've just given birth or during the birthing process, was also that they were accessing literacy. They actually saw that as one of the most important things, not just for sustainability, but for women's empowerment. So I think we must also continue to fight for the increase of just women and girls' education. In that respect also, as I mentioned in COVID-19, one of the things we saw was how then technology and digital technology and innovations in particular became a platform for also accessing sexual and reproductive health and rights information, but also linking survivors of, at that point, they're probably still victims of violence, including FGM and potential child marriage, to services and to the justice system. So these platforms of digital transformation and innovation become also possible routes by which those who are innovating in the areas of FGM can link up. And therefore, I think it's also understanding that innovations can be in terms of processes, they can be in terms of services, and they can be in terms of the way technologies. And all of those are worthwhile innovations to invest in, but they need to also build on how we are encouraging women and girls to understand their own bodies better, which is the whole purpose of sexual reproductive health and rights, bodily autonomy, my body, my rights, my choices. And the more they begin to understand that aspect of their life, which has been taboo for many generations, the more they can take the power into their own hands. So to me, I think we cannot disassociate or delink the issues of innovation and technological advancements and digital transformation from the issue of women and girls empowerment, social empowerment, but also economic empowerment. And the more we link across the two, the better.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lydia. We are just about out of time, but let me bring in Dr. Glory just to wrap us up, because a very important point Lydia has raised about innovation. It's not just the technology part, it's processes, it's services. So you're looking at a huge ecosystem, if you will. So even as you're innovating, some of the challenges when it comes to plugging into all of those points, data points, if you will, as you come up with solutions.
Okay. So to wrap it up, among strategies that we can use as innovators to making sure that whatever we innovate for is beneficial for our community, I'll first start with the point that Madam Anna emphasized on before, on the use of impact measurement and data-driven solutions. This is to put a nail on what Madam Lydia has finished on saying. That is, as we innovate, we should really understand the key things that we are supposed to innovate around. That is, we should not just innovate around the use of technology. How about the process? How about the service? And also, how are we using these innovations to link these multi-sectoral faces that are coming together to put an end to these harmful practices? How are we linking provision of services to the survivors and their legal fairness? How can we provide them with, for example, most of them suffer from psychological torture for many of years from the practice. So how are they getting the psychological relief and also getting the legal aids? And this is not just for female genital mutilation, that goes to early and child marriage too. That is, how can we bring all this together? And also skills development, because for innovators, you may come you may start with one skill, but as you grow, you come to understand that you need to diversify your skills. And diversification of skills does not just come from hiring people with technological know-how, because we are also crying day in and day out about the funding. So how are you, as an innovator with a small team, diversify your skills to make sure that you know more, you acquire more skills and you develop the skills that you have been had before? And far as skills development goes, is not just on the technological know-how of your solution, but also the know-how of the people that you're innovating for. That you know, for a community in this particular area in Kenya, they need a solution around processes, but for this part of Nigeria, they need a solution around technical use. So we should be able to diversify our skills and develop them in order to make sure that we meet the needs, not just for the team, but also for the community. Another thing comes from persistence and resilience. By experience, I know that the road gets very turbulent, not even before receiving the funds or the grant, but the days after you have used maybe 75% of that fund into building up your solution. And now you start to wonder, how am I to deploy this solution to the community? That on this particular year, this particular organization was here to hold your hand, but that program has phased out from the institution. How are you going to survive? How are you going to survive waiting for that prize fund to arrive into your account? That is one very big challenge for most innovation. That is around not just sustainability, but also persistency and resilience, because much as we are praised to be good innovators and bringing up solutions, we are also known to, today we are innovating around this and tomorrow we are innovating around another thing. So today we are on harmful practices, but tomorrow when UNFPA is not here, we are going to run around climate solutions because it's where the funds are. But we are supposed to be resilient and to persevere even in those hardships. And another thing is also going around funding diversification, that as young innovators, are we just sitting down and waiting for grants announcement to come? Or are we really even innovating on how we are diversifying the ways to make sure that we are becoming sustainable? So we are supposed as innovators to come with solution for various areas that we are in, both for our communities and also for our innovations as well. Are we growing? Or today it's the same pitch that we have and we are the same an year to come and we are the same 5 years to come. So takeaway for me and my fellow innovators would be that we have to leverage on the opportunities that we are having, but we have to work at a faster rate, because doing that is how we are becoming more sustainable and how we will persevere in the conditions. Because just imagine the practice that have been persevering for over 40 years and is still perpetuated to today. Why not our solutions being perseverance enough to making sure that we are moving at the same pace? Last but not least, I would say we should not be afraid to learn and iterate. That today, I thought having a mobile app would be the solution for theoretically Tharaka-Nithi region, but after doing your research and data tells you that these women in Tharaka-Nithi region do not have phones, do not have mobile phones where they can report these incidents. So how are we innovating around that? Are we going just to let them aside and innovate for the ones with mobile apps? How are we going to reach the areas that have zero technological advancement? Because those areas still do exist. Are we just going to forget about them, or are we going with the pace to also innovate about them? Because we might find out from data that it's within those communities with zero technological advancement where FGM and other harmful practices are practiced to 100%. So much as we'd want to move with a faster pace of technological advancement, how about the ones that are not privileged enough for this? How are we reaching them? How are we holding their hands? How are we making sure that even them in their interior and marginalized areas are also free from these harmful practices?
Well said. Can I get a round of applause for my panel? Mama Bernadette, as you've been called by Dr. Glory, Anna, thank you so much. And Lydia joining us virtually. Wonderful insights. You may take your seats. Thank you. Let's give them one more round of applause as we transition. So we're about 5 minutes out to 12 noon. We are slightly behind schedule, but I want to make a few housekeeping announcements before we leave this room because we won't be coming back for some time. So we're going to have a photo session, all the delegates, keynote speakers outside, but Charles will take us through that a bit later on. Tea break will be served just outside of the room, and we'll give about 20 minutes or so for tea and for the photo session. And then, of course, we can head into the breakout sessions, which I'll take you through really quickly. Remember, you can also get that information by scanning the QR code that is on your conference tag. All the information will be there. So if you are interested in promoting feminist activism in technology and digital spaces, that will be in Mount Kenya Room D. Mount Kenya Room D. If you're interested in learning from social movements, deployment of innovation, that will be held at Mount Kenya Room C. And if you want to hear about innovation to advance bodily autonomy, women's rights, and SRHR, will be in the pavilion. These sessions will be running up until 1 p.m. 1 p.m., of course, will start off our lunch, which will be at the Nyamachoma Ranch. Any of the hotel staff or the crew from UNFPA can guide you there. So that will be from 1 to 2 p.m. After that, and that's why it's really important that you are able to scan the QR code to get that information. There'll be 2 more breakout sessions, and those will be running from 2:05 to 3:30 p.m. Mount Kenya Room D will be tackling attracting critical early stage investment, finance for social enterprises in emerging markets. And happening in the pavilion will be building and managing sustainable teams for medium and small scale enterprises. And then, of course, tea from 3:30 to 4, and we're done for the day, and there's dinner. But don't worry, Charles and I will be roving around through the rooms, reminding you of all of this critical information. For now, though, let's take a breather, get some tea, network, and Charles, you're going to take us through the photo session. Thank you so much.
A round of applause to our moderator, Victoria. Can appreciate her. Thank you very much. We'll now go very fast and have a photo session, fast outside. So kindly leave the headsets behind in this room. There's other headsets in other rooms. So don't go with the headsets. The translator, don't go with them. Please leave them on the chairs. Let's all dash out, take a photo session very fast. Come for tea. Tea is only for those who have the badge access. So if you have the badge, that's on the way you'll access tea. Lunch will be given lunch vouchers, right? So let's quickly rush for the photo session outside, and then we'll be able to come for tea. And then, all right, so follow the gentleman there waving. So you're going to carry your stuff. Please move outside. And you can leave your stuff here and then come back for it it's safe. It's safe. Just leave the headsets on the chairs. Asante. Those who will be here for the session of Bougainville, please, we'll be convening here. The Goodwill session will be here. The Goodwill session will be here. In case of anything, ask around. Please ask around.
Attention, everybody pay attention. So, next to attention. It's a no this generation. My heart, enemy, everybody's so that. You prepare your body imperfect. But you wake up from the older days. Because FGM is a big mistake. It's not your illiteracy. Look for solution to stop this. Let's put a lot of effort to end this. Let me cry once and for all. My parents, let me cry once and for all. Any moment, young brothers of they say FGM is painful. This is like the same. Complications spiritual bound. So this is like an aim. Once and all. Parents, young girls are suffering. Mutilation. It's killing our nation. Young girls are suffering. Mutilation. It's killing our nation. It's killing our nation. Alongside was a box DXT. Lord God. Mama Africa, Africa. Africa unite. They know kwa nini we tunapigana kwa nini we tunagombana kwa nini na tuko moja kwa nini squeeze Kenya tunachukia nani Rwanda Tanzania wakiturana Uganda, Burundi tuko pamoja, lakini tunaumizana nini? Ukishina